All right, welcome everyone. First show on the new channel. Happy to be here and happy to have you all here. I know this isn't going to be the most fun intro or way to open the show, but I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping before we get rolling, talking ball and doing some drafts. First off, I just did want to take a quick moment to say thank you to everyone who has had me on their shows in the past. My buddy Nick, my buddy Malik, serving as the fantasy football kind of co-host guy for their shows. The Toxic Tower guys, Tyler's had me on his stream a bunch. I was on the Tower recently. The two of them, the Tylers, helped me set this up and really put this channel together. Everyone from the new show, So You Think You Can Tout, who's been super supportive and just building some friendships along the way. So just a couple of quick thank yous there. And then otherwise, I think the only other thing I wanted to get out of the way is that, yeah, today going to be talking some ball, obviously, and ripping a couple of drafts. But moving forward, I don't really know what this show is going to be. Obviously, for the live streams, I wanted to do kind of just more chopping it up with people who are in the chat and just having some fun. I know I've got plans to do some produce content like scripted YouTube videos and whatnot, but I don't want it to be just drafting for these videos moving forward. So I wanted to get the ball rolling. So that's kind of what it's going to be today, but want to add some other elements to it as well. Like I know my buddy Tyler's been doing like some film breakdowns to open his streams, whatever that is for me. I want to include that here on my show. So we'll see what that looks like. But like I said, just kind of want to get going here. And I see that we've already got some people in the chat. What up, Tyler? Girlfriends in the chat, Jiri and Chris the Candyman were here earlier. But yeah, we'll get the ball rolling, do some drafts. Can't promise premium producer chops from me on stream number one, but we will. Let's just get going. So it is about time to draft here. So we'll get things going, hop into a puppy draft, and go from there. I got my rankings all updated and uploaded. And honestly, so just to be completely transparent as we get going here, I have not heavily been in the streets so far this year. I've got about 30 drafts under my belt, mostly slows to this point. So I'm not that deep in the weeds yet. I will be in July and August. And obviously, you can see that I am one of the handful of people in here without a badge. I split my drafts up fairly evenly between Underdog and DraftKings. Haven't taken down a big enough win to earn that badge. And I'm not drafting the daily, so I'm not going to get there on volume. But I think this is the year. So here we are. We are in the 9 slot for this draft. And this is kind of the range where I do like to grab a wide receiver, one of those top guys. And if you saw it on our So You Think You Can Tout video, I am very, very big proponent of hero wide receiver. I know some people were questioning whether or not we actually believed in our draft strategies that we pitched in that video. I am very, very much a believer of hero wide receiver this year. So I will be rolling with that in a lot of drafts where ADP makes sense. I'm not going to try and fade running backs in the first round just for the sake of structure and whatnot, but definitely in redrafts leagues more so. But your background overlay looks like you're running promotion for the Iceman album. Tyler, thank you. I got to shout out him again. He sent me his template for his overlay, and that was very, very helpful. I had kind of what I wanted to do, but kind of just getting the camera set up to making it look good was kind of tricky. So he was very, very helpful in that regard. Took some time out of his day to help me out with this. Yeah, day one already have the cool guy glow camera around the camera. Thanks to Tyler for that. Unlike you, Chad, I believe that I have my audio rolling. I don't know if you all saw, but over on Twitter, Chad, he said his very first stream, he recorded with his audio off. So it was an hour and a half of him talking to the abyss. So I'm glad the bar was set pretty low by some of my predecessors, some of the people who have been doing this for a very, very long time. And another one of my So You Think You Can Tout contestants that's been alongside me here, Nathaniel, he recorded for about an hour and a half. I think it was about maybe 45 minutes, but either way, half of the way through his live stream, he realized his audio was off, and he recorded for a good while without any audio. All right, well, I think that's most of the intro stuff out of the way here. We are about to be on the clock here. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson looking like our most straightforward options here. I kind of teased it, but unless CMC falls, he does not. For me, it's pretty easy here. I mean, I'm just drafting off the ranks. It will be CeeDee Lamb for me here. I mean, I don't really have to say a whole lot about the pick there. It's a pretty straightforward why I am going to be very, very bullish on the Cowboys offense. I wrote about this the other day, actually. For those of you who do not know, I write at a couple outlets, Roto Street Journal and the Right Way Sports Network, just doing my fantasy takes in written form. And I wrote about George Pickens the other day, but kind of applicable to CeeDee Lamb as well. Just I know some people are expecting some regression in terms of just the Cowboys offense not being complete and utter dog shit once again, and Cowboys defense rather. Obviously 32nd in the league in scoring defense last year, lifted up CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens to some pretty solid seasons. But let me make this pick real quick. I am going to try and grab a running back here just for the structural purposes. So I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. But back to the Cowboys there. I don't think that we are going to see them improve all that much. I know they've made some additions through the draft and like the midseason's Quinnen Williams trade, but I was looking at Mike Clay's projections, very, very trusted source for just kind of getting a grip on what we think that teams and individual players are going to look like next season. He has them at 24th in scoring defense, I believe. So I am I think that's just kind of some confirmation bias for me in the sense that I'm just fully on board with them being shootouts all season long. So I will be scooping up both those guys. I think some people are uncomfortable with the price on Pickens, just knowing that CD missed 3 games last year, and it was 3 games where he hit under a 50% snap share. So that definitely lifted Pickens' production to a certain degree. But I'm still just really, really bullish on what he can do. I don't know if y'all saw the quote from Brian Schottenheimer the other day, but it popped up in my Twitter feed, and I thought that was super encouraging. It was that they want to move George Pickens around a lot next year, get him out of just lining up as the X, playing as the X. And I know that kind of sounds like off-season coach speak, just like kind of hyping up all the changes that they're going to be bringing to their offense. But I don't really see it. I think that I think I'm actually buying into it. We saw Pickens, I think it was 90.9% of his snaps last year came from the outside. So if he can kind of get moved around, and the word that Schottenheimer used was isolated, if they can isolate him and get him into the slot, just those kind of layup targets that we're all looking for fantasy production, I think it'll be really, really positive for just his week-to-week floor. And we all know the ceiling that he comes along with, just the long plays, the deep targets. One of the most efficient players on deep targets last year. So he can rack up points in droves on limited volume. But if you pair that with a safer floor, just thanks to some shallower targets where they're just looking to get the ball in his hands and just scheming up plays for him, I think that's super, super encouraging for what he can bring to the table. All right, so we are about to be on the clock again here at the 3:09. We've got Kenneth Walker and CeeDee Lamb on the roster already. I would like, so both of the running backs are gone that I would be taking in this range. I'm not super, super high on either of those 3 running backs, so I'm glad this is kind of just forcing my hand into taking a wide receiver. And as you can see, I've got Chris Olave ranked a couple of spots ahead of ADP. I don't think that this is not a novel idea. So it's not a novel idea just being high on the Saints offense. Everyone's kind of just piling on the bandwagon here. But I can say, I can lay claim, and the written proof is out there, that I have always believed in Kellen Moore. I know it was a really, really brutal year. That one year he was in Los Angeles before he went to Philadelphia. He reclaimed his status as a really, really strong offensive mind. So I guess I can say that I've been there early, but again, not really a novel take saying that you're in on the Saints this year, but loved what we saw out of Chris Olave last year. I know that the arrival of Tyson kind of caps his target ceiling, but if Tyson's presence can just boost the offensive outlook as a whole and improve Olave's efficiency, I think that'll be really, really great. So I'm going to grab Loveland here. A couple picks ahead of ADP, but structurally, I like grabbing one of the elite tight ends, especially Loveland in the 4th round. It's just a really, really easy pick for me. But going to get to the chat here. Yeah, future PPR replacement on the tower. I signed a one-day deal. I signed a one-show contract. But a lot of people making a little in my small corner of the internet, a lot of people making a little bit of a to-do about me chopping it up with the Tower Boys. It is what it is. I had fun on their show, and I'm really, really grateful that they had me on. I enjoy their content and what they've been putting out, whether it's related to the So You Think You Can Tout challenge or just otherwise. They're fun guys, and it's fun to hop on the stream with them. Layout clean AF. Once again, you can thank Tyler for that. I told him that I was gonna replicate his to a significant degree, and I did, just because I thought his was clean. And he helped me with the camera, kind of boxing it in and the overlay and everything. So shout out to him once again. If this show does get its own name, again, we might be switching it up, but we'll see where things take us from here. But for now, just got to call it like it is. Average fantasy football takes. I know that everyone's been kind of freaking out over the BBM Muse, and it's been a little bit of kind of one of those talking points of best ball summer. But I just don't buy that much into it. But I will say that I have not, across the 3 years I've been playing in best ball, I'm definitely down money. I think I split a BBM that ended up like cashing for like $500. So got some entry fees back there, but not a big win yet for me. So definitely not a plus EV game for me, but just here to have some fun and chill some takes. Maybe this is the year if we're all being honest with ourselves. I mean, some drafters definitely are entering these drafts with a positive expected value, but you got to have a lot of things fall your way to actually realize it. So can we actually look into the results and the stuff that's on Best Ball Muse? I don't think so. People are all uptight with Davis about him being one of the most negative ROI drafters in the database. I think it's fun. It's funny. Is it a meaningful takeaway? I'm not entirely sure. If you win BBM, you can have the tower spot. Tyler, I will probably enter like 5 BBMs max. Like, of course, there'll be some that I'm like kind of on the fence, like a co-drafter on another stream, but it will not. I will not have many individual entries. That's just. I'm not trying to just light a bunch of money on fire for a lottery kind of thing like BBM. So for me here, it's a really, really tough decision here between Lamar and Bucky. I'm really wanting to buy the dip on Bucky, but I think I'm going to have to go with Bucky here. Like I said, I've done a limited number of drafts, but I've gotten a lot of Lamar Jackson so far. I'm basically grabbing Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels in almost every single draft. I did a slow, I think it just about wrapped up, where I have both of them, and I'm fine stopping at 2 quarterbacks there. So I'm going to try, even though I'm in the early stages of developing my portfolio, I'm going to try to diversify a little bit and grab Bucky and scoop up the dip. I know that, I can't remember who it was, whether it was Bowles or the OC that said that they view Kenneth Gainwell as the 1B. I'm not really, really buying it. I mean, I know that there's been some people out there kind of just talking about, and I'm going to go Daniels here. I know that there's some people kind of talking about how Kenneth Gainwell, the one season, he could just very, very easily revert to being back to the guy that we saw in Philly, just kind of an ancillary guy. I don't think it's going to completely revert, obviously, but I do think that there is a world where we get Bucky back to his rookie season form. And I understand that Tucker could be kind of siphoning away the goal line touches, and he could be, and Gainwell could be stealing some of the receiving work. But when you're getting into the 5th round and the profiles are all starting to get pretty suspect, it's pretty easy for me to take a bet on one of the guys who was one of the premier rushers of the football in his rookie season. Just like so many of his advanced metrics were just really elite marks. So I'm willing to buy into a bounce back. And I know you can question whether or not like the whole injury stuff and like whatever was going on with him last year, whether or not that's holding over. I know you can question that, but like I said, just kind of at this price, just scoop the dip and get on with it. I think as soon as we start getting some kind of positive buzz in training camp and whatnot about his health and just kind of his role and how he's looking, I think it'll bounce back up because Kenneth Gainwell 1B kind of news. I know it's not driving it. I know it's more so the injury, but Kenneth Gainwell 1B talk, like being a factor in Bucky kind of slipping, it's kind of nonsense. I know he's a really strong pass catcher, and perhaps that one grab against the Lions is just has changed people's kind of just thought process. They're behind the scenes, just kind of unconscious thoughts on who Kenneth Gainwell is a player. I know the reception total is lofty, but still, like I said, I'm more than willing to kind of take a bet on Bucky to return to form. Who do you see as a decent wide receiver 3 option in Liam Cohen's offense? I mean, the way I've been drafting and the way I will be drafting, I sure hope as hell it's Travis Hunter. I mean, he'll definitely start out the year as the wide receiver 4, and he's going to need to either outplay the likes of Jacoby Myers or Parker Washington. All signs point to Parker Washington being the go-to slot guy. So he's probably going to have to outplay Parker Washington. And there are a lot of people out there who seem to be Parker Washington bulls. So we'll see how that plays out for him. But I'm going to go with another wide receiver here. I really like Addison. I've got Cortland Sutton a little bit ahead of him, but it's just knowing how my stacks are going to set up. I don't take a ton of Terry, and I'm really going to be really high on the Vikings this year. So I'm going to try and set up a Kyler stack and then maybe a Jones or a Mason later on, because Daniels, it's really tough for me to stack. Like I like Chig at cost, but again, there's just not really a high end pass catcher other than Terry. And like I said, I'm not drafting him super aggressively. I mean, I get the thesis on Terry McLaurin. Like he could do a little bit more. They're talking about his route tree being expanded this year. So I can't completely rule out the fact that he might like be fine still, but I'm just kind of the belief that it's just not going to happen for him. I just think he's kind of past like on the downslope of his career arc and is going to he's just relegated to, in my mind, he's just relegated to such a thin role. It's just like catching the downfield balls. So, all right. I don't mind Rico here. We can round out the running back room and keep pounding wide receiver later. So I think I'm going to do that and then play for the Viking stuff a little bit later. I could have gone Purdy there and tried to figure out a back stack for him, but I like Rico there. And then seeing what we have presented to us at 105. Yeah, that'll be perfect range to grab Kyler, grab our second quarterback. And I know 3 quarterbacks is kind of all the rage this year, but it is not for me. But getting back to Terry, yeah, I just think he's kind of relegated in my eyes to a role that's pretty thin to leading to him paying off at cost this year. And if he gets 10 to 12 touchdowns, yes, he's going to pay off, but I don't really know if I want to take a bet on that guy who's coming off basically a lost season for him, both him and his team. He's being paid like the wide receiver one. I said as soon as that contract came out, it was an overpay. So I don't really know. I'm just not super in on Terry. I understand the pro argument, but it's just not for me. But turn off the music so you can listen to me spit heat. Trying here, buddy. Trying here. I want to know who my most drafted players are. So like I said, I'm only about 15 drafts in on Underdog, so my exposures aren't really put together into a spot where they're going to be very valuable takeaways. I've got about 15 drafts on Underdog and 15 drafts on DK thus far. So there's just not enough volume for meaningful takeaways. But let me rattle off a few here. Let me pull up the tab real quick. But I will definitely be kind of ramping things up as I get rolling, streaming, and just as July and August is my drafting window, especially because like at least for me, I'm not drafting a ton of BBM. So I'm not like most of the contests that I'm drafting are time boxed. I'm not like trying to get the closing line ADP value on these contests that opened up after the NFL draft and close as soon as week 1 gets going. So I'm not terribly worried about that. So I'm not like worried that I'm missing out on CLV or anything like that, because most of these contests that I'm going to be playing are only going to be open for a matter of days or weeks. I mean, I remember some of the contests that I was doing last year. I was struggling to get my entries in like 2 days. So let me make this pick here, and then we'll move to my exposures. So I'm just going to let that roll to Kyler. So let's see where I'm at with my exposure. I know who the number one guy is. It's definitely Katron Allen. So it's kind of ugly. Yeah, I have Katron Allen in over 70% of my drafts right now. So that's pretty heinous. I am not that much of a believer in Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt, and I know our buddy of Jacob Sanderson, the guy who guest judged the So You Think You Can Tout challenge this week, is all in on Rachaad White. So I've kind of picked the wrong horse in the race here. But it's really low volume, so it's not a meaningful takeaway at this point for me. I literally have like $35 in entry fees on Katron Allen, so I'm not terribly worried about that. If I will definitely be slowing down. Again, like it's not like I'm going too quickly just yet either. But other than that, we've got Aaron Jones, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is going to jump 15 spots in ADP as soon as he signs, and I legitimately think he's a great pick in the 130s where he's been going. Terrence Ferguson, my late round tight end of choice, but we're on the clock here. This is shaping up to be an Aaron Jones pick for me, and then hammer wide receiver the rest of the way. Ooh, but Ricky Pearsall is pretty tough to pass on. I will actually be pivoting to Ricky Pearsall here. I know it's not necessarily a team stack, but skinny stack for Kyler Murray to this point. Can grab Hawkinson or someone else in the later rounds. So here we have it so far. Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray in the quarterback room, Ken Walker, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle in the running back room, and CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall, and then Colston Loveland is the team through 10 rounds. I'm liking it thus far. Yeah, Purple Heart Pearsall. When you can get him 7 picks past ADP, you might as well. And like, I get why people are down on him. Let me wrap up my thoughts on the exposure real quick. Saquon Barkley, I've got him pretty high. Jaden Daniels is my highest drafted quarterback to this point. So just that on my exposures to close that out. But why aren't people willing to take the bet on Ricky Pearsall at pick 100? I know that the target competition is stronger this year. Theoretically, on paper, it's stronger with Mike Evans there. And I mean, obviously George Kittle is George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. But his efficiency metrics were really respectable and even good. Like I don't really want to chop it up into like a handful of game sample sizes, but when he was healthy last year, I don't have the splits in front of me, but the efficiency stuff was really strong. So I'm more than willing to take the bet. I know our buddy Max from the show, Gone Too Soon, very sharp dude. Go follow him on Twitter, Max Adam FF, I believe. If you don't, very sharp dude. I know he was ripping into Ricky Pearsall, but like at cost, why not just take the bet? I know he is very in on Mike Evans, but Ricky Pearsall, we all know that when the age cliff comes, it comes out of nowhere. Mike Evans could very well be just toast and no one would be surprised. And this passing attack is designed, not necessarily designed around, that just never happens in a Kyle Shanahan offense and just knowing who they have there, but heavily features Ricky Pearsall. And I think that given just kind of the numbers, okay, Max says he takes Ricky too. Just your legacy of Purple Heart Pearsall carries on and makes everyone think you're out on him. But just knowing what the offense has to offer and the fact that he was solid and relatively efficient in some small samples, I'm fine making that bet there. I know that it's definitely not a concrete profile, but then again, that's why you're getting him in the 100s. So I'm going to try and round out my wide receiver room. I could go with a tight end here. I don't mind having 4 running backs through, or 4 wide receivers through 11 rounds. I think I am going to grab a receiver in Jalen Coker here. Gets the money, not necessarily impressive money. Where did Stribling go to school? Did not miss any Stribling chatter. Stribling on Stribling will be for later. We've got a couple more rounds to go. Yeah, I don't know where he went other than Ole Miss. But back to I don't even know where I was. But oh yeah, Jalen Coker. Let's make this pick real quick here, and I'll go back on my Jalen Coker soliloquy. I would have loved to grab Goddard there, but they are teeing up a Travis Hunter click for me. The running backs start to get pretty ugly, so they're teeing it up for me. I'm not going to pass it. Travis Hunter it is. We'll figure out the running backs later. But Jalen Coker gets his money this offseason. Not a necessarily super encouraging contract, but down the stretch was just from a target. Oh, I know. Sacred Heart, right, Tyler? Sacred Heart. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Oh, no, that's Jalen Coker's college. Jalen Coker, pretty similar like target earning numbers to McMillan down the stretch last season. I know it was a small sample, including the playoffs. It was like a 6 or 7 game stretch. So not the most meaningful takeaways, but they pay the man. We all know we've all left Xavier Legette for dust. Brazel, Chris Brazel, like do what you will with him. I know my buddy Tyler is drafting a lot of him in the late rounds, but I'm in on Coker for sure. Yeah, the Coke heads are all together. So I think he's a really respectable click, and I like what Dave Canales brings to the table just as an offensive play caller and everything. And don't love Bryce Young. I know some people are just kind of higher on him after what he did down the stretch last season. So it's not my favorite, like in terms of just the quarterback and the all-around offensive environment. There's some holes for sure, but I'm more than willing to bet on him, just knowing that the target earning and the efficiency metrics were respectable when he came back last year. Hand up, I was not thinking of Julius Chestnut at any point here. The thing is, like, I'll get into a little fantasy football thing. Like, how many people, like, people that call themselves an NFL fan, like, we all know who Julius Chestnut is. Like, I remember there was 1 week, maybe 2 years ago, where, like, Pollard and Tyjae Spears were both, like, heavily on the injury report, and, like limited or DNPs like on Thursday. So I was like in a 14 team league, and I had a 0 running back team. So like I was like stashing Julius Chestnut. Like I feel like we're just like kind of nuts. Like no one in the real world actually knows who these guys are. But we're on the clock here. A lot of ugly picks here at running back, and we desperately need to fill out this room. I'm going to have to punt tight end other than Loveland. So a lot of like Coleman's the guy I'm pretty interested in. He goes there. So I'm going to go with Bigsby. No, that's way too early to go for Bigsby. I don't like Algier. I'm going to go with Spears here. Don't want to reach that heavily on Bigsby. I'll do it. Although I do really like him. Like I just think he's the clear cut RB2 in Philly. I don't think that's a really hot take or a novel idea. So relatively efficient in the limited work last season. And I know he burned me personally in his rookie campaign, but I'm willing to allow him to right his wrongs. Let's make one more pick here, and then I'll get to some of the chats. I do think I'm gonna have to double click running back here. Unfortunately, I don't want to anchor to ADP that much because I don't really like the profiles of some of these guys. I'm just gonna roll with Sampson here. A handful of picks ahead of ADP. It's not that big of a deal in this range. I am notably a very, very big, very big Quinshon Judkins doubter. And I do think that Sampson will just have some standalone value just thanks to his pass catching role. I know that's not as valuable on a site like Underdog, but for this team, just some usable weeks would be nice. And I think Sampson can deliver that. If you didn't get burned by picking up Travis Homer multiple times, are you really into fantasy? I'm pretty sure I had him on a team when he was with the Seahawks. I don't think I ever rostered him when he was with the Bears. Travis Homer, yeah, just a fantasy legend that the real world will never, ever really remember. Similar to Julius Chestnut. Maybe I'm one of the only guys playing in a deep enough league where it was reasonable for me to pick up Julius Chestnut and actually roster him for a week. He was obviously very, very quickly roster churned into once Pollard and or Spears were healthy, but I did roster Julius Chestnut in a league briefly. So Max saying Sampson will probably be his highest exposed RB. Okay, that makes me feel pretty good. Max is a super, super sharp dude. He is obviously very, very deep in the weeds with the numbers and has a knowledge of statistics that I will probably never rival. So I am happy to know just a little piece of confirmation bias that a guy whose mind I respect is in on him as well. So I like just not diving like too deep into the weeds on the numbers. I do think that just like what he brings to the table as a pass catcher and knowing that Quinshon Judkins is just kind of a two down guy. I just think it's pretty easy click for me in that range, especially when you just simply need running back points. But we're on the clock here. I think we've properly hammered away at the running back room to kind of pivot and grab a tight end. We'll see who's there. Some of my preferred late round guys are still floating around. Like I said, I really do like Terrence Ferguson. So sorry, Chad, if you're still here. I am well below ADP on your boy Greg Dulcich. I don't know what you're at these days, but it is far too much. Missed a chance to grab my buddy, grab my boy Chigo Okonkwo, but that's okay. Oh man, Debo's staring me right in the face. But does this team need another wide receiver? I'm just gonna bite the bullet and go with Helm here. I'm okay with unstacked Jaden Daniels, but I would prefer not to. Yeah, I could get another share of Katron. I don't think I'm going to expose myself to that. I'm perfectly okay with an unstacked Daniels. I mean, we all know he kind of can get there and not bring along anyone with him if it's pretty spread out. Tommy and I want to know what you make of Alvin Kamara. We understand he is likely to be traded this season. My roommate and my girlfriend want to know what I make of Alvin Kamara. The report came out the other day that like all the beat writers are saying that they're like he's slotted in as the RB2 for them. But I'll get back into that. I'll make this pick real quick. I'll save a pick later on for my boy T Ferg. So I've got the tight end room squared away. I'm probably going to have to go with one more running back, but I can allow it to get really ugly. I do want to grab a seventh wide receiver. I know that might not be GTO, but sorry, I'm drafting two quarterbacks here. But Alvin Kamara, I think he stays on the roster. I think it's pretty close to a toss-up, but like, what value does that bring? They shell out the big bucks for ETN. ETN can catch the ball. Alvin Kamara was absolutely atrocious in pass protection last year. Like, unless you're like planning to design like scheme up looks for Alvin Kamara, like it's just why would you get him on the field? Why would you get him on the field? Like he's toast as a rusher. He can't pass protect. Like obviously there will be packages of plays that get him the ball and use his receiving chops, but the days of Alvin Kamara being a fantasy crusher are long gone. It's okay about Dulcich. Nobody's perfect. I knew you liked Dulcich, Chad. PPR Tyler. For someone who claims that they watch all of Chad's streams, he's got the ticker of his exposures on the bottom of his streams, buddy. It's like, I don't know what he's at. He's at like 30% Dulcich or something ridiculous. It's like his most exposed player is Dulcich. It's like all Dolphins. And he posted it on Twitter today. Fake Chad Candles fan. Yeah. Didn't know you had 50%. Yeah, it's like a ridiculous number. Is Chase Brown off the board? Chase Brown was off the board about 200 picks ago, but this isn't 2024 where we were getting him at like pick 100. Is Taj Brooks still there? Taj Brooks. Tyler and I talked about him maybe a week or two ago. Taj Brooks is a click that no one is talking about, but it is a very, very appealing click in my opinion. Am I going to sell you on the idea that Taj Brooks is a good running back? No, I have no evidence to support that claim. I have no reason to believe that he is good. He has no, there's no sample size to look at in terms of what he's done in the NFL. The draft capital wasn't there. So I'm not going to sell you on Taj Brooks being good, but if Chase Brown goes down, there's only so much that Samaje Perine can do, especially at this stage in his career. Samaje Perine is relegated to basically a third down role only. He is not a base work, like kind of rusher type of guy. Okay. Let me keep rolling with that. But Katron Allen, twist my hand. I will draft you again just to get some sort of correlation with Jaden Daniels. And like I've said, I am a very, very big doubter in JCM. But getting back to Taj Brooks, just the depth chart is so barren in terms of what's going on in Cincinnati's backfield. If Chase Brown goes down, they're going to have to turn to Taj Brooks, in my opinion. And I mean, obviously we could see things play out differently. Like they made a trade for Khalil Herbert when Zach Moss went down a couple years ago. Like maybe they just trade for some kind of just reliable guy, like some veteran. They sent a 7th rounder for Herbert that year. So maybe that happens. But I do think that Brooks is the most likely guy to get a good chunk of the workload. And we're going to try and take Terrence Ferguson here to round things out and complete this team. But I think he is a very, very reasonable click in the last round is Taj Brooks. I need to stop chatting. I'm hammered on my balcony watching you and drafting puppies. Well, I appreciate you being here, Tyler. If you're not going to stick around, thank you again for all the help getting this rolling. I hope you have a lovely Saturday night. There's nothing better than sitting on the balcony. I won't be slugging any beers, but sitting on the balcony and watching some streams and ripping some drafts. So thanks for being here if you're checking out. But finishing up the team here with a Terrence Ferguson pick, very, very classic for me. Katron and Terrence Ferguson to round out my teams. I do that far too often. I will have to get off of it at some point, and it would probably be smart of me to do it sooner rather than later, considering that this contest is about to close. But worst case scenario, we got plenty of time to round out the exposures and get off of T-Ferg and Katron. But I will say some bullish reports from very, very knowledgeable beat writers providing actionable advice, saying that T-Ferg is a very, very clear breakout candidate. Tyler's saying he's going to post a pic of him at the bar on Twitter tonight. That is good for the brand, good for the Toxic Tower brand. I am all for it. But let's take a look at the final team here. We've got Jaden Daniels, Kyler Murray. Some people will not be happy with the 2 QBs there. I am fine with it, especially when I consider Jaden Daniels to be a clear elite option that you can get in the 60s. And I'm pretty high on Kyler Murray, just doing in the Kevin O'Connell offense. Kenneth Walker, Bucky Irving, Rico Dowdle, Tyjae Spears, Dylan Sampson, Katron Allen. When you don't take the third QB, it does allow you to get a little different structurally, not necessarily different, but I do like the structural flexibility that it provides you in your running back room. I would say that the Sims would argue that it is minus EV to take a pick 200 stab on Katron Allen versus a second or a third quarterback. But if he hits, he hits. It's not like I'm taking a stab on someone who is pure handcuff and has no pathway to earning the role on his own. I genuinely believe that Allen has that kind of path into just based on talent alone, earning some work. I mean, JCM, the front runner, was indeed a 7th rounder last year. So moving along, trying not to be too long-winded here on this team review. CeeDee Lamb, Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, Ricky Pearsall, Coker, Travis Hunter, Jeremy Bernard. Really, really strong wide receiver room, in my opinion. And then Colston Loveland to carry the way in the tight end room, and then follow it up with some punt tight end, some would say high upside options in Gunnar Helm and Terrence Ferguson. But that will do it for the first draft. I am going to hop into another one here, get a second draft rolling, get a second one under the belt for the very, very first stream. Got 10 people here, and I appreciate you all sticking around and viewing the very, very first stream, first of many. Don't see Tony Squares on here. Pops is dialed in on the So You Think You Can Tout. Squares would never come onto one of my streams. One, he's doing something with the World Cup. God knows what he's doing. I think he's working, so good for him, making some coin and going to some World Cup games. But yeah, I don't think that guy likes me very much. But he came after me, and he's a dumbass. But I don't need to get into that again. But yeah, Pop's very, very dialed in. But let me hop into a second draft here. Again, thank you to everyone who has stuck around. I mean, I have 40 subscribers and 10 concurrent viewers on my very, very first stream ever. So I don't think that many people are able to do that. And like, obviously I know it's not anything like insane, but for my first stream, I'm just super, super appreciative of the fact that people are interested and supportive and watching. So thank you to you all. Thank you to everyone who was fired up and excited for me and interacting with my tweet when I announced that I was going to be doing my first solo live stream. Many more of these to come, getting on some guests. I'll have to repay the favor to our boy Tyler, have him on. Always fun to talk with him, get some other people on. So like I kind of said early on, I don't know where this show's going. I don't know what the schedule is going to be. I would love to be on a consistent schedule, but like our boy BBG, I quit my regular job soon before the So You Think You Can Tout contest started. And so I'm working a job like part-time now that's like kind of a random schedule. Like it's nothing consistent in terms of when I'm going in and when I'm going out. So I can't really commit to a schedule right now. But like I said, just wanted to get the ball rolling in terms of just being live, doing some drafts with everyone, and then figure out what the consistent content of the show. And we've got Max in this draft, but figure out what the consistent content of the show is and what the schedule looks like. But again, thank you all. And we've got Max in here drafting out of the 7th slot. That cannot be anyone else other than our buddy Max Adams. So we might have to do a team comparison here at the end. But who day indeed. Bengals, sneaky Super Bowl pick this year. I think I saw them at like 12-1. Really, I think they're not great odds in terms of just value, but the Bengals are going to be good. All of the narratives that people construe about the Bengals as a football team, I think they will be proven false this year, but that is the laundry bro and me talking. I'm very lucky that I don't have to push up the Bengals guys into fantasy relevance just because I like them, a la Chad Candles, because they are already premier fantasy assets. All of them that I want to draft anyways, going like the first 4 rounds. Yeah, the defense got a lot better. Max, I know that some people frown upon this in our world, but you know ball. Dexter Lawrence, Brian Cook, what's his face from the Eagles? I'll leave it at that. What's his face? I can't remember his name right now. Or not the Eagles, from the Seahawks, the pass rusher. It's going to be and the offensive line is good. It's going to be a solid, well-constructed team in my opinion. They're finally kind of changing their ways, restructuring Joe Burrow's contract to do things like trading for Dexter Lawrence. So that's my Bengals spiel for the day. We're here in the 10 slot, and we will be making 2 quick picks. 2 drafts and 2 CeeDee Lamb shares it is for me. Don't really need to dive too deep into that one again. Gave my Cowboys spiel. Think the defense is going to be terrible again. And we all know what we're getting out of the offense. When Dak Prescott is healthy, it's a top 10 scoring offense year in and year out, basically since CeeDee Lamb arrived. Actually, yes, since CeeDee Lamb arrived. If Dak Prescott plays more than, I think, 12 games, it's a shoe-in for a top 10 scoring offense. 7th last year. That was their worst mark in the last 3 seasons that Dak's been healthy. So it's wheels up for the Cowboys. Second here, I think it's going to, I do want to kind of diversify a little bit. I do want to take a running back, but I am not going to go with Kenneth Walker again. I am going to try and grab my other guy, Omarion Hampton. I talked about this on the tower the other day when they had me on as a guest host. How can you not be buying in on Mike McDaniel's run scheme? Like, I'm not an X's and O's guys. Like, when I was on with Tyler, that was like kind of our whole shtick. He's an X's and O's guy. I know nothing about it, but I mean, it shows up in the numbers, and people who are in and around the NFL all say that he is like the king of designing a run scheme. So I'm going to take them for their word and then trust the numbers that this is like, has the possibility to be just the number one rushing offense in all of football. I know that like Mike McDaniel, people don't think of him as like the kind of boomer-esque guy, but if he can build his running offense as a whole through the ground game, he will. We saw it the Mostert and Achane year. What was that, 24 or 23? I can't remember, but we saw like the Mostert Achane year. Like he heavily leans on the ground game. So I am very, very bullish on everything that they have to offer in Los Angeles this year. I don't really need to get into the offensive line being healthy. That like kind of just gets beaten to death in this space. Just everything about the Chargers kind of does. So I'll leave it at I just love everything that Mike McDaniel can do for rushing attack. What up, drafters? Hey, Mike, Goofy. How we doing, brother? It's nice to see you. I know we haven't talked much since I unfortunately sent you to tribal council. Again, nothing personal, brother. I'm glad you made it through. And I know we don't know the results of this upcoming challenge, the debates, but I'm hoping to see you pushing through. I had immunity in that So You Think You Can Tout challenge, unless some insane rug pull comes my way. I'll be making it through even if I didn't deliver my best performance, but I hope to see you on to the next round, brother. We're getting into the nitty gritty of this. I know not everyone in here is familiar with So You Think You Can Tout, but it's a fantasy football competition show that I've been competing in. We're down to the top 8 at this point. And then we recently did our most recent challenge. It was a debate tournament with Pete Overzet, who's the host of the competition as a whole, and Jacob Sanderson of Ship Chasing, who was the guest judge for the challenge. So check that out. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but it'll be over on Pete Overzet's YouTube. He'll have all the details for it. So Max goes with Rashee Rice there at 31. I would have totally grabbed him if he was there for me. Easy click for me in the 3rd round. And I think he's going to keep coming up draft boards. He fell because he was doing rehab in jail. Obviously, he will be okay unless we find out in the next couple days, weeks, that something catastrophic happened with his recovery. But considering he was able to go out and get treatment every single day, I am fine with that. Fine clicking him and anticipating that he'll be healthy. I'm going to go with Zay Flowers here. I'm going to try and set up some Ravens stuff. Again, such an easy click for me on Lamar Jackson in the middle rounds. I think both Daniels and Lamar are going to come screaming on boards. Like Lamar, I don't understand. It's not like a Bucky Irving type of thing where he had a standout season early in his career, or in his rookie year, and then had a lost season. Like Lamar Jackson is an established commodity. He has unparalleled rushing upside. And literally 2 years ago, albeit with a different offensive coordinator, we saw him throw for 40 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Like this is one of the premier passers in the NFL. I think he, ahead of Josh Allen, should be just kind of like the perennial MVP favorite. I know like obviously betting odds don't work that way, but just like in my mind, every single year when we head into an NFL season, Lamar Jackson is the MVP favorite and someone has to take it from him. Last year injury took it for him, but it is what it is. We can also set up some Chargers stuff here. There's not really a running back in this range that I want to take. So we can set up some Chargers stuff here with Ladd and go from there. So I'm going to get some of those picks queued up here. But yeah, Lamar is easily one of my favorite clicks. let's get Herbert and QJ teed up, maybe some Keaton Missile, get some Ravens teed up in here. Gonna have to go with Lamar. Would like to, this is gonna get kind of dicey, going with Lamar with my next pick in terms of just setting up this running back room, but I'm more willing to punt running back room than most other people. I'm not sweating it. I know the picks are ugly and the picks are gross in like kind of beyond round 13, but like I said, my portfolio will be built in a way that like once we get to July and August, that's when I'll be hammering drafts, and I will have more knowledge, in my opinion, or not in my opinion, definitively, we'll have more knowledge on how this is playing out. So I don't mind taking just like some swings in the later rounds now. And if they whiff, they whiff, just knowing that how I'll build out my teams, it'll be so heavily weighted once kind of training camp gets rolling and we see how these depth charts are shaking out, and the late round, like kind of upside or handcuff swings are making themselves more clear. So I don't mind kind of waiting on quarterback or running back rather. I'm not fully going like zero RB is still the meta, still the move. I'm not doing that. I'm basically not drafting zero RB at all this year, unless like there's just some egregious ADP falls that allow me to feel really, really good about my wide receiver room. But I am okay kind of pushing running backs down the board and going with a hero running back approach. But we are about to be on the clock here. A handful of picks. Let's see if Max, I don't know if Max is still in here, but he's in the draft room. I don't know if he's still in the stream. We'll see if he snipes Lamar from me. I would imagine a very math and statistics forward thinking person like himself would be in on Lamar. So we'll just have to wait and see. Let's see what he's done thus far, though. Max Adams team. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Yeah, this is a banger of a team thus far. Again, I've done limited drafts thus far this year. I have very few picks drafts from the top of the board, so I rarely get my boy Nico Collins. But good for you, Max. This is a very, very solid team thus far. So let's see if Lamar makes it to us. If not, we can pivot and go with a running back here to just round that out. I know I said I'm comfortable kind of waiting, but there's not too much else that would like sway me. Like I would be fine taking Brian Thomas Jr. at 58. Don't let my boy Tyler hear that. But him and I got into a pretty spirited debate about that. So we'll see what happens here. Lamar would be my preferred pick, but I'm not afraid to kind of just set things up around the Chargers. He goes with Tyson, so I'm hoping he can make it 2 more picks here. If not, we'll have a running back there for us. Can't be ashamed of the no badge. A lot of no badges in here, especially if you're a best ball only drafter. Like it means you just didn't ship one yet. That's okay. So 1 pick away from setting up all of our Lamar stuff or our Raven stuff. Hopefully he makes it to us. I'm fine clicking Jadarian Price to just add some what should be volume to the running back room. But we get Lamar. We've got our Raven stuff going. I do want to queue up Mark Andrews as well to kind of round out that stack. And for the week 17 stuff, obviously going to try and probably grab some late round Bengals. Mike Gesicki is one if I want to fully punt tight end, but unfortunately it's kind of hard to pull off all of the week 17 stacks for Ravens stuff. But we're getting kind of into the meat of the draft here. And I guess one of the things that I did want to talk about today, and I didn't want to do like a presentation, maybe, who knows? Maybe I get Lenars making me some slides here, get him over from ship chasing. And I know he does some work for some other people, but get him over from, get him to make some slides for me. But I didn't want to like do slides or anything. But one thing I did want to talk about here, and I'll get into it after I make this pick. I'm hoping Price is there for us. Yeah, the other guy had 3 running backs. So we're able to get out to a pretty balanced build thus far. With the second running back there in the 6th round. But one of the things I did want to talk about, and it kind of makes sense for this range of the draft, and I've kind of teased it on some other streams in the past, is like just how disappointed I am in the market this year. Not disappointed because it's arguably more efficient, but like I wish we could get what we would get like a couple years ago, like even like 2 years ago. Like I've only, this is my 4th year drafting best ball. Like even what we could get 2 years ago, like with the Chase Brown going and pick 100. I didn't flip to Chase Brown until late. I thought Zach Moss was the play pretty early on, and I flipped late to Chase Brown. But like all the guys that should be discounted for one reason or another, they're just pushed up because everyone kind of recognizes what the upside case is, whether it be Igbokwe, whether it be Tootin, or whether it be Henderson. It's just really, really frustrating that we can't make those bets at more reasonable prices. I've talked about this in the sense of both Igbokwe and Henderson on previous streams, but it's really, really brutal. Like I'd love to just be rounding out my team here. And I don't think Igbokwe, but like you could make the case that someone like Henderson would have been there for me at 63 in past years. Like he was completely, he evaporated by the time the season ended. He was a missing piece in the playoffs. He was completely absent. So I wish he was cheaper, but it's not the end of the world. It's just really annoying that the market is willing to push up these guys with very, very wide ranges of outcomes. So that's my kind of getting on my soapbox for a minute. But we got Angry Dragon in here. Wow, who's this good looking fellow? Another buddy from Ohio, another Ohio best ball guy. We will see him on So You Think You Can Tout season 2. Got his intro or his submission in late, but I think he would have fared pretty well on this show. But still staying very engaged. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Always enjoy seeing your stuff on Twitter and enjoyed seeing you. I believe you were on stream with Nick the other day. So I checked in for some of that, and that was fun to watch. I can't remember who it was with, but thanks for being here. Couple picks away here. So I will probably just pull the trigger on the Herbert just because all of the guys behind me don't have any quarterbacks. I would love to be able to take Kraft here, but who knows? Maybe one of them gets a little antsy at tight end or just another position, running back, and goes elsewhere, or gets antsy at quarterback and goes elsewhere. So I'm hoping Herbert makes it to us here, and then maybe Kraft, but I'm fine with grabbing Laporta there as well at number 87. So we'll see what happens with us. I know that's 10 picks ahead of ADP, but it is what it is. I've got him ranked ahead of there, and ADP is just a construct, guys. You don't really have to listen to it. Don't get too egregious with it, but we've got some nice stacks going here. We will try to grab a Bengals piece for the Week 17 game stack for Baltimore, and then we'll see what we can do about grabbing the likes of like a Worthy or someone later on for this Chargers back or game stack stuff. So let's get some Chiefs teed up here. Oh, I forgot. I was thinking about my other team. I do not have Kenneth Walker here, but there's some options there. We can get either a Worthy or a Kelsey. But from here, I am really hoping that we can get Kraft to keep moving or get the tight end room started. He is one of my favorite tight end clicks on the board this year. He is I'm just fine clicking him off the injury. It's not a big concern for me. He's the kind of guy who is more than like, I'm more than willing to click after he is hurt, and he is there for us. Like he just the way that he wins, he's just kind of rumbling and tumbling and breaking tackles. Like he's not routing people up. He can get downfield, but like I think that there's enough there in terms of like him being an underneath and yak guy to pay off at this cost. Wait till Michael and I meet up in person. Gonna cause quakes in the best ball community. Yeah, buddy. Once you're back in Columbus, we'll have to do some So You Think You Can Tout content. Hopefully the contest is still going on, but worst case, we'll get you out there with the magic carpet. Not in the bath though. We can't have you in the bath. I'm not doing that. No soaking wet takes. Kraft rocks. Yes, he does, Tommy. Yes, he does. Going to be a huge year for Kraft. I know it is. The target tree is becoming more and more condensed. They lose Wicks. They lose Dobbs. Golden is terrible. I can't remember who was chatting. I was going back and forth with Cups on his YouTube video. Golden is so bad. He has never had a year like he was in the SEC for one season and he had a rookie year. Neither of those seasons were in any way, shape, or form appealing from an analytical perspective. So I just don't buy it with Golden. I think that this offense runs through Kraft and Reed in terms of the aerial attack. I know some people have pushed back on the Kraft stuff just because of how much the Packers want to run the ball, but it is what it is. No wet hot takes together. Dude, I'll yell at the geese you want. Dude, no wet hot takes together. You're going to have to do that on your personal time. But yeah, we'll go to the park. We'll tout to some geese. We'll get something in the works sometime soon. But the Ohio guys got to stick together. I am surrounded by like everyone makes me stream with them on Central Time. It's so annoying. I got to be like going at like 10 o'clock at night or like 8 or 9 and like with the tout stuff, like we've had to like film videos at like midnight to like accommodate people's schedules who are on Central Time or just it's like fuck that. I'm rolling with Eastern and we'll get you up here. We got to stick together. But up here in a handful of picks, I don't know if Worthy's here. That would be incredible. Would love to grab another wide receiver here, and especially one that's correlated with one of the stacks that we're building out. So we'll see what we get here. If he's not there, I'm not sweating. I would like to grab a running back, whether that be Brooks or Jones. I'm fine with either. So yeah, Worthy goes. Unsurprisingly, he does not make it 10 picks past ADP. So we'll keep the ball rolling with a running back. I feel a little uncomfy with Brooks here, but I'm just going to go with it because I feel like his 80, it's already skyrocketing, but I feel like his ADP could continue to be pushed up boards as soon as like kind of the news and the hype picks up, the training camp buzz, because it is well established that that Chuba is one of the most fragile starting running back profiles in the NFL. I mean, it took Rico Dowdle 2 games, albeit 2 games against 2 of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL and 2 unbelievable performances from Dowdle. But it took 2 games for him to unseat Chuba Hubbard of his role. And I know he kind of worked back into it by the season's end, but we all know that anyone with some talent and a pulse can surpass Chuba Hubbard. So I'm fine with it in this range. I wish it was a little bit cheaper like it was. I know a lot of the big touts are on him and kind of steaming him up boards and stuff. So I know ETR is still behind on him, so maybe that holds him down, but I don't see the rocket ship coming to a stop just yet. So I'm going to grab a piece of a back stack for week 17. I'm going to grab another tight end in Kelsey. I don't mind grabbing him a couple of picks ahead of ADP. I think he is a good pick to begin with. It's a little uncomfortable clicking him ahead of Kyle Pitts, but you can sell yourself on the stuff on the splits with Drake London last year versus when London was in and out. I don't think anyone's going to argue that London is by far the number one option there. So Kelsey, when it's all said and done, you're going to look up, he's going to have 700 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he'll be a top 10 tight end. So it is what it is. I'm fine taking him ahead of Pitts and a little ahead of ADP to get some correlation there. So little team review here. We are 10 picks down. We've got Lamar Jackson and Justin Herbert. Again, this is a team where I stop at 2 quarterbacks, so don't expect anything different there. Omarion Hampton, Jadarian Price, Jonathan Brooks, CeeDee Lamb, Zay Flowers, Ladd McConkey, Tucker Kraft, and Travis Kelce. So we'll have to start hammering wide receiver here. I'm fine with it because we burned 3 picks on it early on. Running back room's in a good spot, in my opinion. So we'll lay off on the onesies for a little while and continuing to hammer our running back and wide receivers here. We've got a couple of options to satisfy some game stacks and some team stacks. So we'll see what the board gives us, but I like where this team's at, and we'll just play the board as it falls. See what's there for us. I would really like to get some week 17 correlation for Lamar. It's just none of the Bengals guys are particularly intriguing unless you like the Taj Brooks bull case that I laid out earlier. Let's see where. Yeah, like Eric All is another one that's like interesting enough. Like he was very, very promising. He had 2 lost seasons effectively. He's just been brutal with the ACL stuff and missing a bunch of time everywhere. So I mean, I can sell myself like very bullish that he was in the social teams video the other day. The Bengals posted a video of the Joe Burrow and his weapons, and Eric All was in the video. Bullish, some are saying, myself included. But it's just kind of a really thin bet, like it is with Brooks. So I don't know if we'll get any correlation there. But it's not the end of the world if we don't. We've got some pieces working for that Chargers KC game, so we'll see. But I would like to grab a wide receiver here after not taking one since pick 39. So we'll see who's there for us. I wouldn't mind grabbing another share of Coker. I'm very open to grabbing Stephon Diggs. Shaheed's my guy. So we've got some options here. Like the projections based like rankings and stuff, like it's fine for Khalil Shakir. Like I'll have him ranked where he's supposed to be ranked, but like I'm going to basically sell myself on passing on Khalil Shakir every single time that he is there. There's just so many more intriguing guys in this range of the draft, whether it be Diggs or Cooper or Shaheed or Coker. Like I'm going to have very, very little Khalil Shakir this year, even though I have him ranked higher than these guys. It's just like, we all know what we're getting and it's not that appealing. So I'm definitely going to be passing on him here. I'm going to be taking, I'm going to grab Shaheed. Yeah, I'm going to grab Shaheed here. And he goes. So I will not be grabbing Shaheed here. We'll save my bull case on Shaheed for another day. I'm going to grab Stephon Diggs here. I kind of said it earlier. Like his ADP will come up regardless. And even though this is a time box contest, I think he's just a solid pick in the 130s. Basically, no matter there's very few landing spots where he goes, and I'm like unsure of whether he can earn targets. And I know last year he was used in a pretty limited role. It just very, very part-time. There was many games where he was under like a 60% snap share or 60% route rate even. I could be mixing those two up. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but very, very limited role, but it was still earning targets while he was out there. So that's really encouraging for me to see, and was productive. I mean, he was 1,000-yard guy in a non-full-time role. So we'll see where he lands, but I like that pick regardless at 130. So let's take a whole look at the board. I'm not super, super big on C-Rod, but I would take him at 135 if he's there. Yeah, I'm just going to keep building out the running back room here and take C-Rod. I mean, he's not the most exciting click, and he's coming off of a foot injury in the early part of the season or the early part of the offseason. So it's not my favorite, but I'm going to want some of him just in case. Just in case he does earn meaningful work over the course of the season. At 135, I'll take it. I need professional advice on if Lane or Surratt are the guys you need on the Ravens against the Bengals in Week 17 or neither. My pick is going to be neither. I mean, like, it's an oversimplification, but like it just continues to prove to be true. Like, when has a wide receiver 2 in Baltimore mattered in the Lamar Jackson era? Unless I'm sorely mistaken, the answer is never. I mean, obviously you can get the one-game spike, and these guys are at a price point where the one-game spike would be enough for them to make sense for you. And we've seen it with like Rashad Bateman or whoever in these other roles provide those kind of like spike weeks, but not necessarily consistent production. Yeah. Rashad Bateman did something at one point. Yeah. Like they can do something, but I'm going to go with Surratt just because like I kind of just know what he is. I'm not super intimately familiar with the prospect profile of Jacoby Lane, but like I know what I'm getting out of Surratt. And some people that I respect in terms of the prospecting stuff, they don't like Surratt that much or Lane that much. So, and we know what we're getting out of Surratt. He's just kind of like that big bodied guy. He can do a little bit of everything. So, and just like he's not going to be a volume guy. He's going to be like kind of chunk plays, but we've seen Lamar be able to sling it, dish it. And so if you're going to go with anyone, it would be Surratt, in my opinion. I think he's more talented than Lane. So I would go with him. And again, like it's not much that's needed to get for them to pay off at that price point. So, but I'm still not super into either of them. Yeah, Justice Hill, I guess 20 rounds DraftKings PPR, logical enough. I will not be drafting much of him on underdog. I know Sam Sherman was talking about Adam Randall the other day. Again, not anyone I'll be drafting until there's news. Maybe he enters my scope, my world in a couple months, a couple weeks. But as of now, I'm kind of laying off the Ravens backfield other than Derrick Henry. Yo, how we doing, boys? Mac, thank you for tuning in, buddy. Happy to have you here. We're doing well. Second draft. I think we're only going to do 2 today. For anyone who's kind of tuned in halfway, drafts today, moving forward, going to try and figure out a schedule for this and something other than just kind of me droning on about my takes and making picks. I'd like for this to be kind of more entertaining and interactive other than you guys just listening to me and watching me make picks. There's a lot of people who do that on the internet already, a lot of people who are very, very good at it. And I love that. And I know it's fun for a lot of people, but fun for people to watch drafts, but I want to do a little bit more than that. Again, TBD on what that looks like. So stay tuned. We'll sort something out. Not necessarily related to our team, but I do like a Brenton Strange. I'll wait to punt. I'd like to keep going on the wide receiver room. So I am big on Jawan Jennings. Just this passing attack as a whole in Minnesota. I'm just a big believer in Kevin O'Connell. I buy into play callers. More so if unless the quarterback is truly heinous, I like these upper echelon play callers and offensive architects. I'm of the belief that they can get the most out of someone like who I think is disrespected, but as someone like Kyler Murray. Like I understand that he's kind of middle of the pack and not the best, but I lean towards the play caller in that situation. I mean, I've said it many times. We saw Kevin O'Connell having Josh Dobbs being called the Pastronaut. We saw him getting like 300-yard games, it felt like, on the regular out of Nick Mullins. He revived Sam Darnold's career. So I think he'll be able to do just fine with Kyler Murray. So I'm fine scooping up a Jawan Jennings in a third and Jawan, if you will, in that spot. So not like super pressing, in my opinion, in terms of any team needs. We'll see who's there for us. In terms of ADP and my ranks, I'm just going to grab a Brian Robinson share here. We all kind of know what it is. He'll get some of the base work. And if Bijan goes down, he'll consolidate the work in that backfield pretty easily, in my opinion. He's not like much of a 3-down, not at all a 3-down guy, but it'll be valuable enough. And I think that there will be an opportunity for him to deliver some usable weeks, even if Bijan remains healthy. And hopefully it's just, we can get a couple of games out of him if it's a short-term injury. So it's not a fun pick, but it's one that makes sense to me in the 150s, 160s. So I'm fine with it. I think, like I said, we're stopping at 2 quarterbacks here. I'll take another like late round stab on a tight end, but for the time being, we're going to keep building out this running back and wide receiver room, kind of just clicking as we see fit. Not much we can do in terms of the game stacks unless we want to take someone really greasy at the end of the draft here. So just going to be trying to go with BPA here. And I'm pretty comfortable with where we're at. We've got pieces for both Lamar. We've got pieces for Herbert as well. So we'll just be going BPA for the most part until we fill out the tight end room at the end of the draft and consider maybe some correlation for that Cincinnati and Baltimore game. So we are up in a couple of picks here. I'm hoping I can get a nice running back value and finish. I don't think I'm going to go 6 running backs. I'll probably end up going 6 running backs on this team. Agreed. If O'Connell can revive Donald's career, I'm confident he can revive Kyler's. He's a great clock, especially with the added fantasy value. Yep, exact. Great click. Exactly. Like it's, in my opinion, like if someone can run, I'm basically gonna be sold on that pick. It's if it's past pick 100. Like I had a bunch of Justin Fields last year that blew up in my face. I had a bunch of Anthony Richardson last year that blew up in my face. But it pays off a lot. I had a bunch of Jalen Hurts the year he broke out. I had a bunch of Jaden Daniels as a rookie. Like it's such an easier path to paying off in a big way with the rushing stuff. And then the fact that he has premier weapons, he has a high-end play caller, and he has a track record of moderate to arguably solid success. It's just, that's all the cherry on top. So I will be undoubtedly really loaded up on Kyler and the Vikings as a whole this year. I think it's like, I really just think the public sentiment of who he is as an actual football player is really weighing him down. I understand what the risk is and I understand the narratives around him, but I don't think that like a guy who can carry the ball and is surrounded by the environment that he is worthy or should be going past pick 100. So I am definitely going to have a ton, but obviously don't have him on this team. Had him on the team that we drafted before though. All right, we're about to be on the clock here. Our buddy Max Adam takes Sean Tucker. That would have been a nice piece to have. There's not that many appealing running back options for us here. Looking at the ranks real quick, looking at ADP, it's not going to be running back for us here. We'll keep building out the wide receiver room. Today, I guess it is stribbling about stribbling today here on my channel, not on Ship Chasing, ADP Chasing. But if you get them at pick 180, I think I can just deploy the Pat Kerrane argument. He was the 33rd pick in the NFL draft. I don't think he's that good. He's not like, I was shocked when he was there. And I think the same can be said for everyone. But when you're the 33rd pick and I can get you at pick 180, I'm going to take that more often than not. So let's see where we're at here. We've got 3 more picks to make. Need 1 tight end, and we can kind of just freestyle. I'll probably grab 1 tight end, 1 wide receiver, and 1 running back. So we could get some correlation with Jadarian Price in the form of Barner, even though we don't have Darnold, just a little like team correlation. Yeah, I like Barner. I really want to click Branch though. I'm going to go with Barner here and just forego the Cincinnati stuff. Like maybe I could grab Brooks at the end with my very last pick. I might as well. If Brooks is there week 17 and he is the guy, it'll be an invaluable pick. You can paint that kind of story for any player in any situation, I understand, but it would be nice. I feel like the running back room is in a pretty solid spot. You've got some with Hampton, Price, and I don't really need to go through it all, but I feel like the running back is in a pretty solid spot that we could take what Maddox likes to call a fancy zero. Could end up being a stone cold zero if he doesn't get an expanded role or if Chase Brown stays healthy. But for the sake of correlation, in the name of team stacking and week 17 game stacking, we will make the pick probably there in the 18th round. But still 1 more click to make before that. We've got the tight end room rounded out. So I'm assuming that we will be, well, I'm not assuming, I know we're teeing up for a wide receiver pick here. I wouldn't mind Tank Dell, but for now, Ayuk goes anyways. I was going to say I would love to grab Ayuk in the 17th. I didn't think he was going to make it to me, but he does not. Tank Dell, it's one that I like. The rank is what it is. I think he's reasonable to click here in the 16, 17 turn. I still want to have some more information before I start heavily investing. So I'm getting some shares here and there. I probably have them on a handful of teams at this point. But we'll be very interested to hear what the reports are coming out of training camp and when things start really wrapping up. So we'll see what they're saying about him, but could be a smash, especially for these contests that last across the duration of the offseason. If you're getting him in the 180s, he looks good in training camp. He's playing with the starters in preseason. So we'll see. But up here in a couple of picks, I know they say it's bad luck on live streams to go on and on about who you want, but I'm going to be going with a wide receiver here. And there's a couple of picks that I do like. I could consider Surratt. I wouldn't mind it. I've got him pretty low in my personal ranks. I just don't see the bet, but in the name of the team stack again, could take him here. So I think I probably will. I know I was saying I don't love the pick earlier again, but just this team needs a wide receiver. And the story we're already telling, the bet we're already making is that Baltimore, Cincinnati, going to be a nice little game there in week 17. Baltimore in general, going to be a strong offense, which I assume to be true barring injury. So why not pick up another piece from there alongside Zay Flowers? So we get a double stack with Lamar. People may argue that that's not necessarily optimal. He doesn't often bring along two pass catchers unless it's like that 2023 game against the Dolphins or whichever year that was. So we'll see. I don't mind it. It's not like my favorite individual profile, but it makes sense in terms of the team that we're constructing here. And then our last pick is going to be Taj Brooks, another what could be a fancy zero, but there's not that many. No, I can't do it to myself. I will have to take one of these guys. These are much more intriguing options, in my opinion, the Lloyds and the Blues of the world. Both of these guys get plenty of flack. They're picked at number 200 for a reason, but I can't quit it, in my opinion. I just can't. I think both of these guys could be very, very intriguing picks come August when we find out how the depth chart is shaking up. I've been drafting some Lloyd. I don't have much Blue, so I'm going to go with him, even though Brooks makes sense for the game stack stuff, but I'm going to make my last pick here Blue. All right. That is the last pick for my second draft. I am going to be signing off here, but I'm going to review the team real quick. Quarterback room, we've got Lamar and Herbert both stacked up. Hampton to go along with Herbert. Price, Brooks, Chris Rodriguez, Brian Robinson, Jadon Blue. Excuse me. Jadon Blue, CeeDee Lamb, a little team correlation there. Zay Flowers, Ladd McConkey, Stephon Diggs, Juwan Jennings, Dejon Stribling, Elijah Surratt, Tucker Kraft, Kelsey, and AJ Barner. So that will wrap it up for the second draft. Let's get me centered up here so I can say thank you and goodbye. But that'll do it for me for this very first live stream. Again, I really appreciate where everyone who supported, tuned in, took a moment, left a comment, everything. Really awesome to have like 40 subs and 8 people, 10 people, handful of people just tuning in on my very first stream. Really appreciative. Again, this is not what I plan to do, is just sit down and drone through 2 drafts every single time. Peep the Twitter for announcements on what things look like. Appreciate it, Yosh. First time on the solo sticks. Was a little bit of a bumpy ride in my opinion, but this will be a developing product as we get going. But again, thank you all. I'll send out a tweet. Follow me on Twitter at Michael O'Hara FF for the next time that I'm going live. Should be here in the next couple of days. But see y'all. Thanks.